It's live on this Thursday. It's a Magic Bucket Thursday and maybe a Magic wide receiver Thursday as Deandre Hopkins, that report of him visiting the Titans on Sunday came out during Titans minicamp practice yesterday on a Wednesday. So we are here to discuss it. Austin Stanley, Jack Gentry of the Titan Up Podcast here with you today to talk about maybe the magic fix for the Titans at the receiver position. DeAndre Hopkins, recent free agent after being cut by the Arizona Cardinals at the end of May, set to visit the Titans on Sunday. We will hear from Mike Vrabel, also Ian Rappaport, Traylon Burks, and we'll hear from Big Jeff Simmons all about DeAndre Hopkins as several players on the Titans roster were asked about D-Hop and the potential of adding D-Hop during, I guess, after practice. And Jonathan asked, how can the Titans afford DeAndre Hopkins? We'll talk about all this. Tank says, where is Zach? Zach will be back next week. Got a couple mornings off. Zach got a couple mornings off. And Sam is traveling to his brother's wedding out in Washington State. So I don't know if Sam's flight's gotten in yet, but traveling for Zach and Sam. So that's why we got Jack in here for the rest of the week, talking heavy DeAndre Hopkins conversation. And so we will have all of this to react to here on this Thursday morning. So checking DeAndre Hopkins boxes and why the Titans could be a legitimate threat to nail down free agent receiver DeAndre Hopkins. And then Jack, once again, the Magic Bucket. You were on the Magic Bucket a couple weeks ago. The Magic Bucket is back. So let's get this thing rocking and rolling.
That's right. Welcome in, everybody. It's a good Thursday morning talking Titans. Finally got a positive update. It's been a pretty dull offseason for the Titans. It's hard to really hide that, but this DeAndre Hopkins news seems to have kind of given everybody a shot in the arm, given some optimism to the fan base. We'll see how it plays out. I know I'm ready to be heard again, so I'm all for it. But while you guys are falling in here, let's make sure we're sharing the show on Facebook. Share it to your Titans groups. If you've got Titans text messages or text groups, send that Twitch link, send that YouTube link. If you are watching on YouTube and don't have your notifications turned on, make sure to go ahead and do that by tapping the bell icon at the top of your screen. Let's grow this conversation. I know everybody's got an opinion. Everybody wants to talk about it. So let's get everybody in here and let's talk some Titans.
Yeah, let's do it officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Jack Gentry. We go live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. Links on our Twitter feed, segment by segment, here on our show. And also hit us up on Instagram and TikTok for great Titans content as well. There too. We got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us and they help out all of you guys, like Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying experience by seeing them in Wilson County Hyundai, or check them out, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans, get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans. That's at coverage, rates, and service at fbhp.com/ATOZ. The Aura app, keeping you safe online. For a 2-week free trial, go to aura.com/ATOZ. And our guys at Krebs Kubota, an elite Kubota dealer with locations in Columbia, Franklin, and in Murfreesboro. KrebsKubota.com for all of your equipment needs. So, Jack, I mean, I'll set the stage for you a little bit. Is at St. Thomas Sports Park, standing, watching, I believe, a Titans red zone 7-on-7 period. They did a lot of red zone yesterday. So if you missed Sam's update from post-practice yesterday, he'll have it. I will have it today. And by the way, practice is a lot earlier today. So practice content will be flying out all across our social media around noon today instead of a couple hours after that. So we were watching this red zone period. Then all of a sudden I look at my text and I got a text from our Titans chat saying, hey, Tom Pelissero is saying D-Hop's visiting. I look at Sam and say, ooh, look, I don't say it out loud because I don't want to tip off John Glennon. I don't want to tip off Nick Suss of the Tennessean who's standing right next to me. I'm like, hey, Sam. Shh. Like, and so automatically, boom, D-Hop is coming to Nashville on Sunday. And then practice ends about an hour and a half later or so. Teresa Walker, who always has the first question to Mike Vrabel asks Mike Vrabel about DeAndre Hopkins in the Tom Pelissero report. So here is what that interaction went like.
Updated on any possibilities of adding personnel. There's a report from the NFL Network that DeAndre Hopkins is going to visit on Sunday. Is that accurate? And you're looking forward to making a pitch to him?
Yeah, well, the first thing is we want players that want to be here. I think we want people that want to be here, and then we'll work through anything else. And so, we brought in a bunch of different players. DeAndre will be somebody that we'll bring in next week, early next week, at the end of this week, and go through the same visit that we go through with everybody, and then start the process.
So, Jack, there's Mike Vrabel, Titans head coach, on DeAndre Hopkins, confirming that DeAndre Hopkins is visiting at some point in the near future. As the resident Titans fan here, Jack, what is your thoughts on DeAndre Hopkins visiting the Titans? What is your level of excitement, I guess, just to kind of not get too deep into it, but when you saw the Pelissero report, how did you feel about it?
I mean, first I was shocked. I'm not gonna lie. I was surprised. I mean, I understand why it makes sense. You've got Tim Kelly in the building, who he worked with in Houston. You've got Vrabel, who was there in Houston. He worked on the other side of the football. But, I mean, I'd imagine that both of those guys are playing a big part in this. Derrick Henry, he works out with Derrick Henry. He posted to his Instagram story in April a video of him and Derrick Henry working out side by side.
Right.
So, to me, I was first and foremost just totally surprised that the Titans got the first visit, right? I thought that this would go to a team that is probably more built to win now than the Titans are. But at the same time, I am through the roof. I've gotten my hopes so high. I'm ready to be let down again. If they don't make it happen, it will be a disappointment in my eyes. And I know there's a lot of, everybody out there is either all in or all out because of Eric Moulds, Andre Johnson, Randy Moss, Julio Jones, Robert Woods, Carl Pickens. Who am I missing? Who am I leaving out?
Eric Decker.
Does
Eric Decker count?
I'll count Eric Decker.
I mean, he did catch a touchdown pass in a playoff game to help the Titans beat the Chiefs from Mariota, right? A fourth quarter touchdown pass from Eric Decker. So I don't know if Eric Decker necessarily qualifies for this terrible.
It was an up and down season that year for Eric Decker.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's
Adam Humphries, does he count? Adam Humphries doesn't count because he was like a 26-year-old free agent, not like a 30-year-old receiver.
But at the same time, his body was like 36. So
I don't know. I don't want to know what Adam Humphries' concussion brain activity looks like after his year and a half in Nashville.
God, that was unfortunate for him.
Yeah, it really was.
But there's a lot of reasons to be a little, not pessimistic about this, but to proceed with caution with a 31-year-old wide receiver who had a knee injury a couple years ago, who's missed some time over the last couple seasons. But to me, I'm stoked. This is the position group that we've been clamoring for an upgrade all season long, really not even just this season, but last season as well, when they waited so long to address that in the draft. So we've got a possibility out there, and it's a guy who can turn this wide receiver group, which, I mean, we had a show about it. They were ranked 32nd by ESPN's Mike Clay, as a position group in the NFL. He totally changes that. He takes you from good to great was like 2019. Mm-hmm. This is horrific to like okay. We'll go from horrific to okay with D-Hop at wide receiver.
I think it's more than just okay. And I think the difference in the Titans offense of currently, right? It's Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill are known commodities. You understand what you're going to get out of them. Then you have Treylon Burks and Chika Okonkwo, second-year players who you think are on the verge of breakouts. And after that, you've got guys that that are just role players in NWI and Chris Moore, who I think I like both players, but I like both players no higher than wide receiver 3 or 4. And then you've got Kyle Phillips, who is a redshirt freshman, if you want to say that much. And then another true freshman in Josh Wiley, who I think it has a lot of potential. But again, that's a conversation for another day. But if you add in DeAndre Hopkins, now you've got 3 proven commodities, 3 of them that have had Pro Bowls, plural, all pros, plural, for D-Hop and Henry, and then you just knock everybody else down one little spot and you feel way better about what this team is. And so I think this is a massive deal for the Titans. I think if they land DeAndre Hopkins, it changes a lot of the forecasting for the AFC South because the Titans are really missing that spot.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a whole conversation about what this does for the narrative, in the Titans' pursuit of skill players and star players. They've tried it with the guys that were a little, probably on hole 17 of their careers. D-Hop isn't there yet. I know he's 31. I know that's on the tail end of your prime as a wide receiver, but he's coming off a big-time season. He missed the first 6 games due to suspension, and they kind of held him out the last 2 because what's the point of playing a guy as talented as DeAndre Hopkins in those last 2 games if you're looking to trade him, which they tried so hard to do, didn't work out. Now the Titans have a shot to ink him, and this is where you got to have a creative front office. There are a lot of front offices in the NFL that have a lot less to work with that are willing to make this work. The Titans don't have a lot of salary cap space in 2023, but by backloading this contract, I mean, there's tons of money waiting for you beyond this year.
Sure, absolutely. So, all right, let's talk about the boxes that DeAndre Hopkins needs checked. And so there's another report from Ian Rappaport about the DeAndre Hopkins visit to Nashville that will play. It's got some extra information in it about maybe what this timeline looks like. So we'll get to DeAndre Hopkins, the boxes that need to be checked, how the Titans fit that, and the overall timeline for D-Hop as a free agent. But first, let me tell you guys about Krebs Kubota. They are an elite Kubota dealer with 3 locations across the Middle Tennessee area, with Murfreesboro, Franklin, and in Columbia. The elite Kubota dealer means they have the most elite equipment brand and dealer in the industry, and they also have everything that goes along with those with the Kubota brand, like elite service, elite warranty, elite other items there with whatever your projects are for your equipment. And they've also got elite customer service because Kubota provides the elite equipment. Krebs provides the elite service. They do strive to be the best at customer service in their field, and they do a pretty dang good job of it too. Hung out with Matt and Jamie in Murfreesboro a few weeks ago. They really do take care of their people and want to make sure that whatever your project is around your property, you've got it covered. Krebs Kubota, an elite Kubota dealer with 3 locations across the mid-state, serving Middle Tennesseans for now over 18 years, Franklin, Columbia, and Murfreesboro.
Are you a sports fan? Do you like throwing a little money on games? Do you play cornerback for the Indianapolis Colts? Well, I've got the perfect betting app for you guys to use. It's BetMGM, and we've got a great promotional code that you guys can cash in on. Enjoy all of your favorite sports like never before at BetMGM. Sign up using code A to Z Sports and receive up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. When you register with BetMGM, you'll get instant access to a variety of parlay selection features, live betting options, player props, and daily boosted odds specials. And with BetMGM at your fingertips, every play and every game matter more than ever. Find out why BetMGM is the king of sports books. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly, Isaiah Rodgers, and offer resources to help you make appropriate choices. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 years of age or older to wager. Tennessee only. New customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. First online real money wager only. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets. Bonus bets expire 7 days from issuance. For problem gambling support, call the Tennessee Red Line at 800-889-9789.
All right, Jack. So let's talk about what Ian Rappaport had to say and DeAndre Hopkins boxes that need to be checked by whoever his next team is. But let's go to the NFL Network's rap sheet.
DeAndre Hopkins is expected to make his first free agent visit early next week and a fly on Sunday, then visit the Tennessee Titans. That is going to be on Monday. This Mike Vrabel confirming earlier today the Tom Pelissero report that Hopkins is set to make his first visit. And you're right, there has been a lot of interest from contenders and certainly some teams that have some money to spend. If you're looking at the profile of the Tennessee Titans, they fit exactly what DeAndre Hopkins is looking for. They got a quarterback who can play, they have a need, they have some money, and they do seem to be a team looking for one final piece for maybe that playoff push. The interesting thing here is the timing. I wouldn't be surprised at all if DeAndre Hopkins, even with a really positive visit to the Tennessee Titans, doesn't sign until maybe even the start of training camp. Rarely do veterans want to go through mandatory minicamp. Veterans especially like to maybe even wait a couple days into training camp just to make sure they get as much rest for their bodies as possible. May end up being the situation for DeAndre Hopkins, or he couldn't end up taking another visit. Either way, plenty of very, very good teams interested in the former Cardinal star receiver.
All right, so there's Ian Rappaport. So a couple things there. Ian Rappaport said the Titans do check the boxes. They have money, right? And people like David saying they have money and like laughing and like, where's the money? The Titans do have $7.9 million of cap space that's available cap space according to overthecap.com. That does include what Will Levis's contract would be as a slotted 33rd overall pick, even though he's unsigned at this point. It does include Tier Tart signing his tender that happened earlier this week. So that's available cap space at $7.9 million. You can do things like, Jack, like you mentioned earlier about, void years that became a thing after COVID, just multi-year deal with an out that could have DeAndre Hopkins' cap hit be lower this year, but also give D-Hop a potential to hit the market again after another year. And so there's ways to do it there, Jack. And so, what do you think, before we go into the boxes, what do you think about the Titans being the first visit and the overall timing that Ian Rappaport said?
I think familiarity is big for D-Hop. He's, like we've said, he's 31. This is going to be his third stop in the NFL. I don't know that he wants to go to a place with, a lot of, and work with people that he's really not familiar with. And, I think that DeAndre Hopkins, he's still a number one wide receiver in this league. He can come in and be that here in Tennessee. And he's got a young stud in Treylon Burks, who we all hope to get a full season out of this year, because we saw flashes of what he can be last season. I think the timing of it's awesome. Titans fans, I couldn't be happier as a Titans fan that this is his first stop. You get to set the bar. And, on this week's episode of the Tighten Up podcast, I was telling Austin, I said, you don't let him walk out of that building without an offer that absolutely blows his mind. I mean, you make him say no. And if he says no to everything you can offer, then that's okay. You tried. But it's going to take a lot to get him here. There's a lot of other suitors out there. But the good thing is, we're so late in the offseason, and the Cardinals did this after the draft. So a lot of these teams that once needed a receiver have kind of scratched that itch. So the Titans have not. I think you make it extremely hard for D-Hop to walk out of that building and say, I kind of want to listen to what other teams have to say.
Yeah, it is a recruiting situation too, right? And Kyle G on YouTube says D-Hop is using the most desperate team to set the market for when he goes to visit the legit options. Now, I think, Jack, you and I believe the Titans are a legit option to land DeAndre Hopkins, and we'll talk more about these boxes here in a second. But I do think, and we talked about this right after Hopkins was cut by the Cardinals, that the Titans have the unique advantage in the head coach and the offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans, and Mike Vrabel and Tim Kelly have been in leadership positions where DeAndre Hopkins has been on that team, right? Like Mike Vrabel was the defensive coordinator for a year, and then on that staff for several years when D-Hop was with the Texans. Tim Kelly was the offensive coordinator for DeAndre Hopkins last season in Houston, and Tim Kelly was not the reason why that went. That was a Bill O'Brien mishandling of personalities and people there. That is why that fizzled out, and Bill O'Brien, head coach / GM, traded D-Hop to Arizona. And then I think that is a massive deal. You brought up the Derrick Henry connection as well, with them working out together in the offseason in Dallas. And so there's a lot of good things the Titans have. That is why I think the Titans get the first visit. I also think there's a caveat to what Rappaport said in that clip of a lot of veterans of D-Hop's level don't want to do mandatory minicamp. Well, the Titans are one of 8 teams that have mandatory minicamp right now, this week. The rest of the teams have it next week. So DeAndre Hopkins can say, yeah, I'll come visit you after mandatory minicamp and not have to worry about anything.
I wouldn't even mind if he skipped training camp. As long as he shows up for week 1, I'm
no,
all
he
good.
he needs to be in training camp. I know you're joking there.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. Like, I mean, Kevin Byard showed up yesterday. Like, now that everybody's in the building, I think Titans fans feel a bit of a sense of relief. And now you have the possibility of adding DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, if you get him in the building before training camp, you get him on the same page with Ryan Tannehill. We've seen how, when you bring in a receiver like Robert Woods, like Julio Jones, how that early on in the season, it takes a little while to get in a rhythm. You need every single rep you can get in practice, in training camp, leading up to the regular season. So the sooner the better. But at the same time, there's no need to rush D-Hop. D-Hop's, even if the timing might be off on out routes or comeback routes, I think you take that for a couple of weeks, knowing that you have D-Hop to rely on, who should be, up to speed with Tannehill for 13, 14 weeks of the season. And a guy like that, we saw what he did in 9 games last year, averaged 80 yards a game. And that converts to 1,354 receiving yards on a season. You don't know when the last time the Titans had a guy hit that number?
What?
It's never happened. 2003, Derek Mason came close with 1,303, but this is D-Hop after an MCL tear we're talking about.
Yeah, but it's 2 years removed, though. That was a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, last season was his first year off the MCL.
And he performed well. He had the PED suspension that he sat out. He played 9 games with Colt McCoy, Kyler Murray, and I forget who else. Who was the other Cardinals quarterback that played?
Trace McSorley played a game, and I mean, he stunted D-Hop stats last year.
Maybe it wasn't Colt McCoy. Maybe it wasn't Colt McCoy. Maybe I'm just thinking Trace McSorley and Colt McCoy are the same person.
Well, they kind of are. And, through 8 games last year, D-Hop was on a pace for 1,500 yards.
Oh, yeah.
When McSorley came in, D-Hop couldn't get the ball, and that kind of tanked his numbers a little bit. But still incredible production out of a guy coming off an MCL tear the season prior. So there's a lot to be excited about. I think Titans fans should be pumped about this.
All right, so do the Titans check the boxes? Because DeAndre Hopkins has given 3 boxes on his wish list for his next team. So here they are. This is from the I Am Athlete podcast from this offseason. His 3 boxes are stable management, a quarterback who loves the game, and a championship defense. So those are the 3 boxes that DeAndre Hopkins wants in whatever his next team is. Stable management, a QB who loves the game, and championship defense, because I think when you look at the Arizona Cardinals, I don't think they check a single one of these boxes, because they've had a lot, not just the GM hire this offseason with Monty Ossenfort, but the Cardinals have been wishy-washy. They've been firing coaches after 1 year. Cliff Kingsbury was ridiculous. They've had their GM get suspended and their owners in some situation. Like, it's messy in Arizona. They definitely don't have a quarterback who loves the game, because Kyler Murray loves Call of Duty more than he does playing NFL football. And then championship defense, laughable to think the Arizona Cardinals are a championship defense. So, Jack, we're going to ask everybody here in the chat, how many of these boxes do the Titans check for DeAndre Hopkins? How many of these boxes do the Titans check for DeAndre Hopkins? But first, I'm going to tell everybody about our friends at Wilson County Hyundai. They check all the boxes for you when you're looking for that new ride. See them in Lebanon. WilsonCountyHyundai.com, home of Colton Dowell, 7th round pick for the Tennessee Titans. I was hearing him talk about Lebanon and how great of a town that is and how much they're supporting him. Wilson County Hyundai, a staple in the Lebanon community out there. I-40 East, real nice drive out, pretty drive out there to see Wilson County Hyundai and Payne Bone and his team at Wilson County Hyundai. They can find the right ride for you. It's outside of Nashville, so you don't pay the downtown ridiculous prices on that. And they've got all the terrific inventory in the Hyundai brand that's just staying ahead of the game when it comes to technology. So check them out. Make them a part of your car buying process. Go see them. I'm not saying buy from Wilson County Hyundai. I'm just saying go talk to them, and they'll do the rest there. So WilsonCountyHyundai.com is where to go.
BetMGM is another place to go if you're looking to find a way to pay for that new car that you're looking for. Download the BetMGM app, use our promo code A to Z Sports, and receive you'll receive up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. Now is a great time to get in on the action. The NBA finals are going on. The Stanley Cup final is happening. College baseball, super regionals are in full swing. If you want to lock, just bet on the Braves against the Mets. The Mets can't touch the Braves, but make sure you sign up with code A to Z Sports so you can cash in on that offer up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet.
All right, Jack, I'm going to send you to the chat here in a second. The question we're asking everybody is, how many of these boxes do the Titans check for DeAndre Hopkins? Because he said this on the I Am Athlete podcast back in the spring. 1, stable management. 2, a quarterback who loves the game. And 3, a championship defense. So, Jack, what are the people saying there on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch?
Okay, let me scroll to the top to get some of you guys earlier.
Yeah, there's a lot of comments. There's like
been
over
a lot.
100 comments since we asked the question.
We'll start with Jason Martinez. He thinks the Titans check all 3. Ethan says 2 out of 3. Matt says 3. Titanium says 2. Pistol says 3. Tighten Up says 2. Carl says 2. Frank says 3.
Real quick, if you
Three
say 2 or not, if you say less than 3, I want to know which one they don't check, right? So a lot of you guys have already answered the question, but if I want to know which one they don't check if you're not at 3.
Okay, and we got Jay who says they only check 1 box.
Okay.
Tyler Bundy says 2.5. I wonder where the half comes in.
I think I have an idea.
Could that be front office? 2.5. There's more 2.5s. Jackman says 2.5. Ken says 2. Andre says 3. Jonathan says all 3 plus some more. Okay, Jonathan. Deborah says 3. Myram says 0 like 17 times. Dylan Cole, a Titan special team great. He's watching. He says 3. We've got Jonathan who says 3. Michael Kennedy says 2. Mr. Jones says 4. Will Dotson says 3. Jake Hughes 2.5. Where's my guy Eddie Cardona? Eddie Cardona says 3. Yuri says 3. So, I mean, most of these comments are 3 or at least 2.5.
Yeah,
I would say about 85% of these comments are at least 2.5. That's
you would say the average is 2.5.
Yeah,
there's enough
well,
3s
yeah,
to pull up the 2s, and then we have some 2.5s. Okay,
yeah. There's not a lot of 1s or 0s though at all.
I see BX Gaming and Rap just says 5. I don't know if he accidentally hit the comment button too many times, but we got it. It's 5. 5 is your answer. You've said it 18 times
Here
already.
comes. Yeah,
I might have to put him on
complimented.
timeout because he's, let's just kind of put him in timeout for a second. Yeah, I'll take care of that. So, Jack, what is your answer? How many boxes do the Titans check for DeAndre Hopkins of these 3? Stable management, QB who loves the game, and championship defense.
It's not 3, but it's not 2. It's 2.5.
Are you gonna go 2.5?
It's 2.5 boxes.
All right, show your math. Right, this is high school. You just did a math equation. Maybe you found the right answer, but show your work. What's the 2.5?
This is the type where I just scribble random numbers so the teacher gets lost in grading, and then he ends up having to give me the full credit
because you got the question right.
Yeah. So it's hard to say they have stable management in Rand Carthon's first year as GM. However, I think that having Carthon in that seat as opposed to John Robinson is a plus for the Titans, because if D-Hop comes here, you want to talk about stability. J-Rob traded A.J. Brown in the draft out of absolutely nowhere. So that guy's gone. You've got Rand Carthon in, and, working I guess they didn't really directly work against each other, but they were both in the NFC West. They both probably know who each other are. While that's not a full one box, I think it's a half of a box. So then you go to quarterback who loves the game. I think that box was only created to take a shot at Kyler Murray.
Totally.
I think 31 quarterbacks checked that box. The one that didn't was the guy he just played with.
Side convo, side game. What other starting quarterbacks in the NFL do we think doesn't love the game? Kyler Murray being one of them. That is an amazing jab. It's not even a jab. That is a jab right hook combo to Kyler Murray's jaw.
When you think about that, it's just dudes who don't want to be out there. Like, I would say in the past, like a Jay Cutler type probably would fit there. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers would totally check that box.
I think Aaron Rodgers checks it. I know Aaron Rodgers checks that box. He's a weird dude. He's different.
And even if he doesn't, you kind of look past it.
Yeah. Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, Jimmy G probably.
That's one that's popped up in the chat. We're getting some Russell Wilsons. I think Russell Wilson loves the game. I just think he got lost. Like I thought Russell Wilson last year was a method actor playing a quarterback. He got stuck in his role and he couldn't get out of it.
Yeah.
But I think he still loves the game. Like, you don't get to his
football
level.
is Russell Wilson. He's got nothing else going on. I know he's with Ciara, but like he's as
Oh.
bland as it gets. Like football is Russell Wilson. Andrew Luck would have checked that box.
Zach
Zach
Wilson.
Wilson's a good answer. Good answer.
Baker Mayfield from Kevin.
I think Baker loves it. I really think because I mean when you saw him come in, I forgot with the Rams last year on Thursday night. That showed me that like okay, he's all in. But
so I think really Kyler Murray is the only one that has there is evidence of Kyler Murray not being all in on loving ball.
Yeah, with the amount of cameras and the media attention everyone gets in this league, it's impossible to get away with not being all in, at least from a public standpoint. So I think that obviously Tannehill checks that box.
Okay.
Now, championship defense, well, how healthy is the defense? That's the question every single season. If they're healthy, I think that they're top 10 defense. And by being a top 10 defense, you have a chance to win a championship. With that pass rush, if Harold Landry is able to bounce back, you've got big Jeff D'Anico down there. You signed Arden Key, and you already have Rashad Weaver. A pass rush is everything. The Titans figured that out a few seasons ago. Now, you look at the secondary. Well, Amani Hooker's solid if he can stay on the field. Kevin Byard's Kevin Byard. Christian Fulton, if he's on the field, I trust him. McCreary took a big step last year. You've got Sean Murphy-Bunting. And, your linebackers, Azeez Al-Shaair, I think he's probably the best backup in football last year, just buried behind two world-class linebackers. That I think you absolutely have a championship-level defense. It's lost a little bit of its luster because guys have gotten older and, guys are coming off injury. But in my eyes, that's a championship-level defense the Titans have.
All right, so again, the question, how many of these boxes do the Titans check for DeAndre Hopkins? Jack, I think they check all three. I'm not giving it 2.5 like you are. I believe the Titans do check all three of those. Like, I think the easiest one to immediately mark off with permanent marker is Ryan Tannehill, quarterback who loves the game. Like, there's no questioning Ryan Tannehill's gut, drive, passion, leadership, toughness, all of that, right? Like, the guy was playing on bum ankles for 2 months plus last year until he tried to have a surgery that could have potentially gotten him back for the playoffs. Ryan Tannehill loves the game. There's no doubt about that.
He's a warrior.
I think the Titans do have a championship defense. Again, like, you can say anything and then have the caveat of when healthy or, without including potential injury, because that's
assuming health.
Yeah, that's involved in every conversation. Wild. Yeah. The Philadelphia Eagles should be the favorite for the NFC as long as Jalen Hurts doesn't get hurt, right? Mm-hmm. Duh. Like that.
But I mean, I think it's different with the Titans' injury history compared to just about any other
fair.
Team or any other
I get that, but I also have a hard time completely putting that on all of them, the players. But with Christian Fulton, yeah, that's a conversation about him specifically. But as the defense as a whole, I think they have a championship defense, and we saw it at a very high level. Basically up until Jeffrey Simmons rolled his ankle against the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football, and then he wasn't the same the rest of the year. Denico Autry had some injuries against the Packers on Thursday night that he wasn't the same, and then Landry didn't play a single snap last year, and with the torn ACL, and he is a beast. And I like Arden Key a lot, by the way. It looks pretty good out there at minicamp. So I think they have a championship defense. I think they do have a stable management because of what Mike Vrabel is. Like, we know Mike Vrabel won the battle between he and John Robinson, even if it was an unofficial battle and they didn't know they were battling against each other. Mike Vrabel was the winner of that. Mike Vrabel is the stability that DeAndre Hopkins would be looking for from anybody. Like, Mike Vrabel's not going anywhere anytime soon. And if you want to argue Rand Carthon could be considered stable because it's a fresh slate. Mm-hmm. There's nothing that Rand Carthon can do over the next 12 months that on football wise, there's nothing that Rand Carthon can do football decision-making wise that would get him fired in the next 12 months. That's not the case. With John Robinson, you thought it was more stable than it actually was, but you also understood the mistakes that had been made offseason after offseason with, Vic Beasley and Clowney and lack of draft picks and Dodd and some other things, right? Like, you kind of on top of the AJ stuff. So, but I think the Titans check every single box. Like, why don't they check every single box right there?
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point in that Vrabel and Carthon will probably be working together for a handful of years at the minimum. I mean, I don't think that. I mean, they sacrificed J-Rob to show Vrabel, hey, like
To commit.
you are the guy. So I don't see Vrabel going anywhere anytime soon. You mentioned that there's stability in the fact that just Carthon's going to be locked up for a few years because it took a while for that snowball to turn into an avalanche for J-Rob. It took years of mistakes, years of failed first round draft picks, years of just tumultuous free agent signings. And I mean, really, there's no way he can blow it in a year. I couldn't imagine a way that he blows it because he's already extended Jeffrey Simmons. That would have been bad. That would have been a big snowball to start off Carthon's tenure. But I understand why you're going all three. I just can't fully commit to that third, to that last half, just because Carthon doesn't have a track record as a GM. He's totally new to the gig, and he's in his first year here. We don't know what Carthon will be as a GM.
I do think I think there's some interesting wording and phrasing for DeAndre Hopkins in his boxes, like stable management. Stable doesn't mean proven or great. It just means it's not going to change in the near future. QB who loves the game doesn't mean good quarterback, doesn't mean great quarterback. It just means that the quarterback's all in on being there every day, right? Like Jameis Winston, I think, loves football. Is DeAndre Hopkins going to be pumped up about going to play for Jameis Winston? I doubt it because he's got a lot of he's a wild card.
Yeah.
Like so I think with those two boxes, like it's not about the ceiling of ability for Ryan Tannehill. It's about the floor of expectations that DeAndre Hopkins is wanting from his quarterback that directly impacts his production.
Yeah, but the entire thing when we talk about the Titans quarterback position is Will Levis going to be enough? Does DeAndre Hopkins believe that Will Levis can be that guy? Because the Tannehill's one and done most likely with D-Hop if D-Hop signs a multi-year deal with the Titans. So you got to figure out life beyond Tannehill. Do you trust what the Titans have in place behind him?
True.
And unfortunately for D-Hop, he can't really figure that out unless he signs on and comes to training camp and sees Will Levis in person. There's not anything out there to go off of. There's College State, but that's college.
And I'm curious to see kind of what, I doubt we're ever going to have the answer to this unless DeAndre Hopkins eventually signs with the Titans. But what does this visit look like, right? Like who's involved? Who's in the room? Is it Rand Carthon, Mike Vrabel, maybe Chad Brinker, who's the assistant GM? Who else is in the room? Is Tim Kelly in the room as offensive coordinator? Who is Derrick Henry in the room? Who else is involved in that visit? I think if you really want DeAndre Hopkins, and Mike Vrabel said yesterday too, he's like, I'm done recruiting. I did that at Ohio State. No, this is recruiting. Free agency is recruiting. This is a opportunity to get somebody in your facility on an official visit and recruit the hell out of them. So you have to throw everything you've got, and say, hey, what NIL deals could the Titans get DeAndre Hopkins that make him feel better?
I think you get all the captains and put them in the room. Because look, the Titans are looked at from a national perspective as a team without a lot of star power. But if you put Jeffrey Simmons, Kevin Byard, and Derrick Henry in that room, and Tannehill, because Tannehill's got to be involved as well, with DeAndre Hopkins, I think that totally shifts his viewpoint of the Titans. He knows that the Titans are a great team to play for, and even though things aren't as sexy on offense as they once were. He was in the division for a handful of years. He understands that the Titans are a winning franchise with stability up top. So I just think you put all the captains in the room, get Tim Kelly in there, Mike Vrabel, and you kind of just bounce around the room. Just tell him why this is a place he should absolutely come to.
Oh, Jack, there's a development with the person I put in timeout on YouTube. So I have to share this. It's funny. So we've got more conversations. We have a couple super chats, about DeAndre Hopkins, and an interesting development on me putting somebody in timeout on YouTube for spamming the chat. So more on that. But first, Aura will keep you safe online. If you're getting spammed in the chat, maybe you're getting spammed in your email inbox, your actual mailbox, and your phone has a bunch of spammers calling you on a day-to-day basis. Use the Aura app to help you stay safe online and get rid of those spams from all of your life. And if you use our link, aura.com/ATOZ, that means you get a 2-week free trial. That's aura.com/ATOZ for a 2-week free trial to help you stay safe online and get rid of those robocallers from your life. I did it. I had 30 data brokers that had my info. Aura got rid of 29 of those. Still trying to get rid of that pesky last one. But right there, so check them out. I just posted the link in the chat. It's also in the YouTube description. Aura.com/ATOZ for a 2-week free trial. 2 weeks is a long time. It only took like 4 days for all those data brokers to get rid of my life. So check them out. Aura.com/ATOZ.
Yes, download the king of sportsbooks, BetMGM. It's the perfect place to go for your sports betting needs. You can enjoy all of your favorite sports like never before at the BetMGM app. There's a ton of stuff going on right now. If you want to bet on the Vols to make the College World Series, that's going to be available at BetMGM. They've got the widest selection. It's everything you could ask for. It's easy for new users, but make sure you use our code. Sign up with A to Z Sports, and you'll receive up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. They want you to start out in the green. They want you to start out with extra money in your pocket. So make sure you use our code ATOZ Sports when you sign up.
All right, so getting into a couple super chats here on the show, but I do want to apologize. So BX Gaming and Rap, when we asked the question, how many boxes does the Titans check for Deandre Hopkins, 1 through 3, he's spammed like 5. There were like 17 comments in a row of 5 from BX Gaming and Rap. So I put him in timeout on YouTube. So he comes out of timeout and says, "Why did you put me in timeout? I'm 10 years old." So BX Gaming and Rap, I look, sometimes 10-year-olds have to go to timeout. I don't know. But anyway,
of all people, you should be familiar with this situation.
YouTube does not tell me how old you are. It doesn't tell me anything about you, but sometimes I got to cool you off a little bit. So again, look, hey, just don't spam the comment section and you won't go in timeout. So I apologize for putting you in timeout, but hopefully you won't do it again. That's the kind of the point of timeout, right? So, all right, super chats coming in here, Jack. We got Andre saying, "While I get the reservations on D-Hop, how can people honestly think rolling NWI, Chris Moore, and Dowell makes more sense? If it don't work, it's the same result." What do you think about that? I mean, I think Andre's got a point for the anti-DeAndre Hopkins crowd of, if DeAndre Hopkins doesn't work, is it any worse than what you currently have?
Yeah.
Like, what's the harm, I guess? Money?
Yeah, that's the thing. You can't fall far from the bottom. I mean, There's not a 33rd team in this league. It's absolutely worth the risk, and it's less of a risk than all of the guys we talked about at the top of the show. All those those journeyman receivers who came in to try and revitalize their career. Well, D-Hop's not there. He hasn't fallen off yet. Like, it's absolutely something that you should do and should absolutely pursue and make him say no. You don't have enough behind him to be comfortable anyways. And look, if D-Hop doesn't pan out, I mean, it was worth a shot. It was worth a shot. Hopefully, at least his presence on the field, whether or not he's catching 100 passes, defensive coordinator's game plan for D-Hop. Okay,
Yeah.
You don't want Traylon Burks to have to grow through double teams.
And so, Jack, what were the numbers again last year for D-Hop? Like, he played 9 games, but you said he was on pace for a ridiculous year.
Yeah, D-Hop was averaging 79.7 yards per game. Okay, which is a 1,354-yard pace in a 17-game season. Now, you hope that you can get 17 games out of him, but if he does do that, I mean, he's going to set a Titans record most likely, as long as Tannehill can stay healthy, which is another question. But again, we're assuming healthier. So, I mean, you look at the Titans roster last year, you look at the production at the receiver position. Robert Woods led the team with 527 receiving yards. DeAndre Hopkins topped that in 9 games. Why are we thinking twice about this?
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Yeah. Frank says, "Austin, I'm looking at chemistry and trust mostly." What is it to lose? I mean, I guess, Frank, that would be probably one of the better arguments against DeAndre Hopkins and what they currently have is the chemistry that they've brought. And I think that there's something to what Tannehill has built with, I think Burks, Chig, Phillips, and NWI. That Tannehill has legitimate chemistry with. I get what you're saying there. A couple more super chats before we move to our next conversation here with Jeffrey Simmons and Burks. Nathaniel has a couple. He says, "If the Titans get D-Hop, it changes the outlook as a fan, and D-Hop changes the Titans offense and opposing defense's plans." I think both of those are absolutely true. from Nathaniel. I mean, I don't know. We don't have necessarily the time to get into what expectations would be if DeAndre Hopkins is signed. I think we can figure out what happens with the visit before we have all those, but no doubt that it changes the temperature of what the season could be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 2 of the Titans' top 4 receivers last year were tight ends. You lost Hooper, who tied with Treylon Burks with 444 receiving yards.
Yeah.
Let's get a guy who can go out and touch 1,000 yards at the minimum.
Yeah, and see what happens. All right, Jack. 2 Titans teammates had very different approaches to their comments about DeAndre Hopkins when they were asked about the free agent wide receiver. We'll play those here in a second, but first, Farm Bureau Health Plans can get better for you, and that means in several different ways. You can plan on Farm Bureau Health Plans for their health, dental, and vision coverage. If you're a Tennessean, they've been helping Tennesseans like you for over 75 years, and they can do it. Jack, you've got Farm Bureau Health Plans, and I know Zach has saved 20% per month on his health coverage when he switched to Farm Bureau Health Plans. It's super easy. FBHP.com/ATOZ. Once again, that website, FBHP.com/ATOZ. Just that's your start. You go to that website, you poke around a little bit. They have 200 locations across the entire state, and they can help you out. Maybe you've got your health coverage from your employer and you just need a better dental plan, need a better vision plan. Maybe your employer doesn't have that completely. So use Farm Bureau Health Plans to piece it all together, or for a one-stop shop. Once again, FBHP.com/ATOZ.
You guys have heard my spiel by now. This is, I think, the 4th ad read here. So I'm not going to go into depth anymore. I'm just going to tell you to sign up with code A to Z Sports, and you'll receive up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. BetMGM has it all. Make sure you use our promo code A to Z Sports when you sign up so you can receive that $1,000 back in bonus bets. If you happen to lose your first bet, you won't. You're going to win it. I trust you.
All right, Jack. Treylon Burks and Jeffrey Simmons had very different approaches to their conversation or their answers when they were asked about DeAndre Hopkins. So first, let's hear Treylon Burks, who was asked right after practice on Wednesday about the report for DeAndre Hopkins visiting Nashville.
Put out that DeAndre is coming to visit on Sunday. It's the first free agent stop. What would you think about having him as a teammate?
That's something that I can't control. He's an awesome player, a great player. It would be fun to play with him. So, if we end up getting him, then we get him. If we don't, then we don't. But no offense to him, he's a great player. I'm just glad. I like playing with who we have here. So.
Jack, the last part of that, I like playing with who we have here. That got a lot of headlines, and not just from, smaller media outlets. I'm talking about the NFL Network. NFL.com put out articles and multiple tweets that focused on Treylon Burks saying, he's a great player, no offense, but I like who we have here. And I think that was a spin zone by the NFL, the league's own media outlet, of taking Treylon Burks completely out of context there.
Yeah, it's not really fair. But there's 2 ways to really look at it. I'll just go ahead and get into it. Treylon Burks, I understand why how he was probably coached up by the Titans PR team. Don't go out there and say anything definitive about the DeAndre Hopkins rumors. It hasn't happened. We don't even know if it's going to happen, so we don't want everybody getting excited. We don't want you to get excited. So he could just be keeping things close to the vest like they teach these players in Tennessee. I mean, it's the Mike Vrabel way. We've heard Tim Kelly this offseason it was just recently he said it's not all broken when talking about the offense. They're not going to tell you exactly how they feel. They're just not. They're trained to not do that. But the other side of the coin is, does Treylon Burks want to see somebody slide into that wide receiver 1 role that was kind of promised to him after trading A.J. Brown and drafting him last season? I don't think he's selfish. I don't think he's a selfish player. I just think he's, a quiet guy who's not going to go out there and say anything that makes headlines. But in this case, by keeping it quiet, by keeping it, kind of low key, he has made headlines, because how could you not be excited about DeAndre Hopkins possibly teaming up with you and making your life easier?
Yeah. Yeah. I think Treylon Burks was trying to do his best at not throwing his current wide receiver teammates under the bus, right? And that's a weird spot for a guy who doesn't have a ton of media experience, who I think has been way better with the media so far this offseason than he was at all last year. But I think it was a little bit of like trying to say, yeah, I like who we have. I think NWI has done a great job. I like Chris Moore, his addition. Kyle Phillips is super quick and I think it was that more than anything. But of course, they just take it and run with it and pick out the half a sentence that sounded negative.
And think about it. It's an uncomfortable spot for him because he's a young guy in a bigger role than some of his older teammates that he's with every single day. He's younger than these guys that the media wants him to throw under the bus. That's super uncomfortable. I couldn't imagine being somewhere where there's dudes who have been in this league, who have been with this team, who've done this job longer than I am or longer than I have, and totally throw them under the bus the first chance that I get. That's an uncomfortable spot for Burks. I think he did the right thing. The media, we're in the middle of June. They need something to run with. And they already are lacking in Titans content from a national perspective. So I guess anything helps, but they've totally twisted Treylon Burks' comments, and it's unfair to Burks. But I mean, he shouldn't feel bad. I think he said the right thing.
Yeah, agree. Now then there's Big Jeff. Jeffrey Simmons was on NFL Network and had a very different approach to DeAndre Hopkins news.
We already know what news broke earlier today that, DeAndre Hopkins, the wide receiver, may be taking a visit, man. Like, you got a recruiting pitch for him? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's crazy because, I didn't know until today. And then of course, I already sent the DM, like, come on with it. You already know what's up. So, I know, the type of player he is, being able to play against him and get ready to play against him, just to watch the film and, okay, DeAndre Hopkins, that's the guy we got to stop. And just.
So there's Jeffrey Simmons, and that's literally the difference is the offense for Treylon Burks and the defense for Jeffrey Simmons. Jeffrey Simmons, he doesn't necessarily, I'm not saying that he doesn't care about his offensive teammates. He doesn't have to care as much as Treylon Burks does. Jeffrey Simmons is like, hell yeah, I'm sliding those DMs. We got a championship level defense over here. We need more touchdowns being scored. And so Big Jeff is going out there and doing his best to recruit.
Yeah, well, Jeffrey said the difference is Jeffrey Simmons he's been in these defensive meetings before the games.
Yeah,
he knows how much respect DeAndre Hopkins commands in that room while teams are game planning against him. So Big Jeff's perspective is really, really great. And I like that, as a leader of this team, he's got a little bit longer of a leash with the media than Treylon Burks does right now, just because he's performed and he's been extended. And, I think his job is pretty secure in Tennessee. So I like to see him going out and making a public recruiting pitch to D-Hop. He knows how important this would be. And I mean, God bless those poor guys on defense who do their job for 3 downs. They can't get bailed out. They need a guy. They need a guy who can extend drives on offense so they can take a sip of water on the sidelines when they come out.
Yeah, Devin says Jeff is trying to stay off the damn field. He's sick and tired of these 3 and outs. Absolutely.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely. Me too, man. Me too, Devin. I'm tired of these 3 and outs. Yeah. And by the way, breaking news, Jack, I don't know if you saw this, but the Vikings officially cut and released Dalvin Cook. So another highly paid running back. They couldn't finish that contract where, hey, Derrick Henry is about to finish that big contract.
Yeah.
I mean, who's left?
It's the way of the world.
Who's left, right? I mean, Alvin Kamara and Derrick Henry are kind of last of that group of running backs that got paid big that will finish the deal with the team. Like McCaffrey got
Alvin
traded.
Kamara doesn't exactly have the longest leash in New Orleans right now either.
No. And yeah, so again, that just kind of tells you how different Derrick Henry is, because I guess Nick Chubb got paid, but he got paid a little bit after.
He's got less mileage on his tires. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so Nick Chubb and Alvin Kamara and Derrick Henry, but Kamara's a little earlier on in that deal than these other guys. So anyway, interesting development there across the NFL with Dalvin Cook being officially cut.
Can we make a promise not to have a show about Dalvin Cook signing with the Titans?
I swear we are not doing that.
God, thank you.
I mean, could you imagine? Oh gosh, that is the official switch to the wing tee for the Tennessee Titans. Malik Willis under center, Dalvin Cook and Tajay Spears as the wing backs, and then Derrick Henry as your fullback. There's your full transformation. All you need is Burks outside and Chig, you're done, right? That's the entire offense.
God. Oh,
but no, that's all the Dalvin Cook and the Titans conversation we will ever have. Okay, so now Jonathan says Dalvin Cook to the Bills. Yeah, and Buck will bring it up, but Dalvin Cook to the Bills, book it. That would be fascinating.
Play with his brother. Yeah, that would be fascinating.
Yeah. All right, A to Z Sports here live on this Thursday, Jack. It is time for the Magic Bucket. I know we all love it. Kind of we all hate it, but the Magic Bucket here live on a Thursday. But the Bone and Joint Institute will help you whenever that injury happens in life. So check them out, boneandjointtn.org. They can get you covered. Whatever that injury is in life, they can take care of it because they have the experts who can deal with it as well. So whatever it may be, if it's head, shoulder, knees, toes, hip, foot, they've got it. boneandjointtn.org. Right there in Franklin, the Do It All facility, great campus in Franklin, Tennessee, off I-65. So check them out once again. Set your appointment, boneandjointtn.org.
The show's about to end, so after the show, make sure you go download BetMGM, use our code ATOZ Sports, and you'll receive up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win that first bet. Make sure you do it if you haven't already. If you don't like your sports book that you're currently on, make the switch, change up your luck, download BetMGM, use our promo code A2Z Sports, and receive up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win that first bet.
All right, Jack, Magic Bucket here on the show. Since you are the guest, I will pull for you first this week. And then you're on the show tomorrow. So we'll see if anything has some carryover here. Let's see. Oh, this is good.
Oh, is it?
Tell us about a recent dream you had, Jack Gentry. Now, this is kind of tough because
I get weird dreams, dude.
You seem like somebody who would have weird dreams because you've talked about with the Tighten Up podcast and your Relax the Back sponsorship that you do have some insomnia. So I would think that would lead to some weird dreams. So,
well, with my insomnia, I have a medication that I take to go to sleep. And that medication is known for creating absolute havoc in my dream realm. I dreamed an entire movie one time. It was kind of like a Game of Thrones plot, but instead of like these different kingdoms and these different I don't know, just it was you have not totally people. Well, I guess you have people, but like you have a group of people that live under the sea. They've got like barnacles on them. They're like, they've adapted to their environment under the sea. While you have a woodland group, there's a group of woodland people who've got, who are camouflaged in leaves and use spears and stuff. And then another group was your desert group. Okay. They know how to survive and adapt with scarce amenities. And so there was an epic battle between all three groups. And
where was the battle held? I mean, because if I'm under the sea, then I want a home game.
Yeah, so the people from under the sea came up and raided the woodland area. The desert people came in, and it was a three-way battle all at once. And I woke up; it was getting so intense that I woke up in the middle, and I couldn't find out the winner. But I immediately wanted to write it down, just in case I find myself in Hollywood, because I've already got a script laid out and ready to go.
Yeah, I'm with Jake. Like,
you asked for my weirdest one. That's the one.
No, I mean that's something right there.
That's the one. It was a whole movie.
Stanley says Jack has watched too much Little Mermaid.
I haven't watched a lot of
That's phenomenal. I don't have dreams that deep or that.
That's the problem. They're insanely vivid.
Where were you?
I wake up a lot of the times. I was like a third person spectator, like Call of Duty spectator mode. But yeah, they're extremely vivid. I wake up, and sometimes if it's too real, I don't know whether or not that happened for like the first 10 minutes I'm awake.
I've done that before, where I wake up and I thought the thing was real. All right, so this is that. Hey, look, a hell of a Magic Bucket payoff with that crazy stuff. I did this already. Have to wear earrings on the next show, which I have my earrings, magnetic studs for future use needs. All right, tiny piece of paper. Oh God, I haven't gotten.
That's
this
on
one.
Fire. This is funny.
I haven't gotten this one. I'm not even gonna read it. I'm just gonna do it. Sorry.
Ooh, pig, suey.
I had to make pig noises for 15 seconds. And I will say, making pig noises for 15 seconds is not easy because you run out of breath fast with all that. So
It was pretty good, though.
was it good?
Yeah, it definitely caught me off guard.
That was the point. All right, guys. That'll do it for this show. Look, hell of a show with Jack's weird dreams, pig noises to wrap up an entire DeAndre Hopkins conversation. But hey, by the way, don't forget minicamp starts early today. So practice begins at 10:30, done at noon. So we'll have a lot of content out on our YouTube channel, and I'll be live later this afternoon for a big recap. Kevin Byard talks for the first time today. He said to the media yesterday, he's like, hey, I'll answer all your questions tomorrow. I'm talking tomorrow. So Kevin Byard speaks today. I'll recap it later this afternoon. Then Jack and I will be back on tomorrow morning at 8. So we'll see you guys then. Make sure you give the show a like. Give us that thumbs up for Jack's dream in my pig noises alone. Hit the like button just for that because I thought that was pretty damn good. So, all right, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you this afternoon. Jack and I will see you tomorrow morning. Buck Rising live tonight, A to Z Sports Primetime. Talk to you later. Appreciate it as always.